Alrighty guys, welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today I'm reviewing The Phantom Menace 25th Anniversary Special, which was a comic one-shot written by Greg Bach with art by Will Sliney, and was released on May 1st, 2024 to celebrate the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. But the comic wasn't what I was fully expecting, as it ended up being more of a retelling of The Phantom Menace, but more from the point of view of Anakin, as most of the events of the movie are more kind of glossed over real quick, but they then add some scenes diving more into what's going on in Anakin's head, or just conversations with some of the characters we didn't see in the film. And so I ended up actually quite liking those moments, but I do think the pacing was just a little off, because like there'll be this nice, decently sized moment or scene, and then I'll kind of just go over and then have one page just quickly retelling several moments from the film. So, I feel like the pacing was just a little weird in this one shot. But like I said, the new stuff I quite enjoyed. At the start of the issue, we see Anakin shortly before the events of the film, waking up from a dream he had of him as a Jedi freeing Shmi. And once he wakes up, he tells Shmi about it, which she tells him that's nice of him, and says that if more people were like him, the galaxy would be a better place. But also tells him to not be too good, as the truth about the galaxy is that it is dangerous and that he is still a boy. But then this droid, which I guess belongs to Watto, comes in and tells Anakin that Watto wants him to go pick up a shipment for him. And so we see him head out, but while picking up the shipment, he notices this Tusken Raider who's getting enslaved by I think it was a Nikto and a Rodian, and because of this, Anakin then messes with their speeder while they're not looking, and he gets it to kind of speed off without them, and so they're distracted by that, and he then frees the Tusken and allows them to get away, as the Nikto and Rodian then return, asking Anakin where the Tusken went, and Anakin points them in the wrong direction. But then we see Anakin go home, feeling good about doing the right thing. But then the events of the movie happen, Qui-Gon arriving on Tatooine, the pod race, Qui-Gon freeing Anakin, which then there's a moment of Qui-Gon talking to Anakin shortly after the pod race, where he tells him that it isn't always easy to help people, and that doing it as a Jedi is even more difficult because of the discipline and sacrifice it requires, which was a nice moment. But then the scene of Anakin saying goodbye to Shmi happens, and then his arrival to Coruscant, and the events of the Council turning down Qui-Gon's request to train Anakin, which afterwards there's a great Jar Jar scene where Anakin is upset about the Council's decision, and Jar Jar says he also doesn't understand it, and he talks about the worries Anakin has about missing his mother, and how that's normal and signs of someone with a good heart. So, telling Anakin that he is a person with a good heart, which was nice, and honestly maybe my favorite moment from the one shot. But then the scene of Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon about how Anakin is dangerous, and how the Council is right that Anakin is dangerous right in front of him, which is a weird scene in the movie, but the one shot shows that Anakin does overhear it, and then later in the ship asks Qui-Gon if he is dangerous, which Qui-Gon tells him that he isn't, but he is special, and that Jedi and people with his potential must be held to higher standards, and so he needs training, which Qui-Gon says he's trying to ensure Anakin gets. But we do see that Obi-Wan does overhear this conversation. But then the Battle of Naboo and the death of Qui-Gon happens, which there's a moment with Anakin and Obi-Wan as Anakin returns to the Naboo hangar, and Obi-Wan tells him about the death of Qui-Gon, and so we see Anakin react to it as Obi-Wan tries to comfort him, but Anakin remembers back to when Obi-Wan said he was dangerous, which this moment was similar to some of the flashback scenes from Pac's Vader series. In that series, we see Vader have a lot of flashbacks, and it's usually just like red, and so it was the same here. But we see Anakin start to walk away, but Obi-Wan stops him, which is when Anakin tells him that Qui-Gon was the only one who believed in him, which Obi-Wan says that Qui-Gon's last wish was for him to train him, which Obi-Wan promises to do. But later, when Palpatine and the Jedi arrive to Naboo, we see Anakin a little distracted, thinking back on Shmi, the Council's decision, which he thinks about that when he sees Ki-Adi-Mundi, but also thinking of Qui-Gon's lesson on discipline and sacrifice. But we see Obi-Wan get the attention of Anakin, and he tells him that his mind is clouded, but then tells him that Qui-Gon did believe in him, and so does he, which cheers Anakin up. But the one shot ends back on Tatooine, where we see Shmi dealing with life without Anakin. But then one day, the Tusken Raider from the start of the one shot comes to Shmi's home and tells her what Anakin did for them, which after they leave, we see Shmi and 3PO speak, as 3PO is still wondering when Anakin will return, which Shmi says Anakin has returned in a way with the Tusken's story. But she then talks about the dream Anakin had about becoming a Jedi, which she says she had a similar dream also, and that's where it ends. Like I said, I enjoyed it, diving more into Anakin's head during the events of the film and getting some of those extra scenes. Like I said, the Jar Jar one I really enjoyed, but I enjoyed pretty much all of them. But, like I said, I just felt the pacing was just a little off with all the cut-ins to tell the events of the film. But also, if I were to say, I don't really feel like this was a must-read comic, as most of the stuff it does add, I enjoyed and thought were nice, but it doesn't really add anything super duper crazy to the film. Anyways, my grade is going to be a B, but that's going to be it for this one. You can check out all my other comic reviews I've done, Phantom Menace videos, and everything else I do. But it's been Star Wars Review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.